It's time to sit back, relax, and listen to Conversations with Joan. Conversations with Joan will inspire, motivate, and empower you. Live your best life now. Listen, learn, think, and decide. And now, here's your host, Joan Herrmann.
Welcome to Conversations with Joan. I'm Joan Herrmann. Thanks for tuning in. Conversations with Joan focuses on topics that are important to your life, from health and wellness to professional development to personal well-being. Changemakers join me to share their insights, tips, and strategies so you can thrive and live your best life now. Thank you for taking time for yourself, and thank you for letting us be a part of your life. Now, let's start talking. If you believe that you could achieve anything, what would you do? Would you be living the same life? According to today's guest, Diamond Dallas Page, what we believe we are capable of determines our path to greatness or mediocrity. Dallas has proven that with the right attitude and relentless work ethic, it's possible to overcome any obstacle and take ownership of our lives. Dallas is a former pro wrestling champion turned fitness guru and inspirational speaker. He's the creator of the DDPY fitness program and author of the book Positively Unstoppable: The Art of Owning It. Welcome, Dallas. Thank you so much for joining us.
I'm glad to have me on.
So, Dallas, I love your approach because I think like you do. There's no place for excuses when you want to achieve something. When you believe you can do something and truly believe it, there's no stopping a person. So, I want to start off by talking about your career. I have two sons who are now in their 20s that were probably, and still are, big wrestling fans. And when they were younger, I took them to SummerSlam and WrestleMania. We bought the wrestling figures, they had the rings. When did you know that that was the life for you, that you wanted to be part of all of that?
When I was a little kid, I really fantasized about it, the idea of it. And then when I was 17, I thought, this is something I want to do it. And then at 22, I started to believe I could do it. And I ended up hooking up with a guy in North Jersey. And I had 3 matches total. I was, super green. The last match I got thrown over the top rope and I torched my knee, my right knee. And it's the same knee that I got hit by a car when I was 12 years old. I walked out in front of a car. It hit my right knee. My face bounced off the hood and I flew 42 feet from impact right on Route 88 in Point Pleasant, New Jersey. And, it aggravated that injury, so I took some time down, but I was also in the nightclub business the whole time, and I actually got to run a small rock and roll bar. It was the beginning of my management in the nightclubs, and I sort of drifted away from the vision, the goal, and then that was in 78, 79, and then wrestling blew up huge in the 80s with Hulk and everybody, and it aggravated me so much that I didn't follow my dream. I knew I should have been a part of it, and I stopped watching wrestling completely for a while. And then I was drawn in later on by Jesse Ventura and Jake the Snake Roberts, and then I became a fan again, but I didn't really try to get into wrestling till I was 31 and a half, and then I thought I was too old to be a wrestler, so I went on the path of trying to be a manager, someone who actually talks for wrestlers and a color commentator who talks about the matches.
So you ended up starting your career at an age when most are getting ready to hang it up. How did you get your head in the game, knowing what you were going up against, guys that were much younger than you?
Well, when I finally got my opportunity for managing and being a color commentator, I was 35 years old. I was at Ted Turner's World Championship Wrestling. Dusty Rhodes, I always say without Dusty Rhodes, there is no Diamond Dallas Page. He took me under his wing, and he loved my ideas and my energy and my production value as far as creating stuff. And then about 5 months into me managing, they realized I was kind of like too over the top with the hair and the clothes and the girls and the rap, that they wouldn't let me manage anymore. So now I step into the wrestling ring, and everybody thought I was crazy. So now I'm 35 and a half trying to be a wrestler. And people laughed out loud in my face and told me it wouldn't happen. And to answer that question you asked me, how was it? It was tough, But the one thing that I know is a fact, and I stress it all the way through Positively Unstoppable. There's only one person that has to believe in you, just one. Doesn't have to be your mother, your father, your uncle, your brother, your sister, your wife. It doesn't have to be any of them. It just has to be one person that believes in you, and that's you. And I was pretty steadfast that I was going to make it as a wrestler.
And Dallas, I couldn't agree with you more, because I'm doing the work that I do now. I started this at 43 years old after being a stay-at-home, work-from-home, suburban New Jersey soccer mom. And I had this crazy idea, and a lot of people, the same thing, they laughed at me. They thought I was crazy. I mean, this is a field for younger people. This wasn't a field that a middle-aged woman traditionally cracks. So I totally understand what you're saying, and the power of believing in yourself and just having that knowledge that you can overcome anything if you keep going forward.
Oh, absolutely. And it's, people even buy my DDP yoga program and they'll invest in it, and then they'll say, I got your program. And I'll go, awesome. Have you started? How are you doing with it? Well, I haven't started yet. I'm like, what? In the beginning, it used to shock me. Now I know it's like a percentage of people who want it, but they're afraid to start because they're afraid they'll fail. Like, the only failing part comes by you not doing it at all. So, that's what I think, Positively Unstoppable, the art of owning it, like, it is whatever you want it to be. And in this scenario, maybe it is just starting the program, and then let's build from there.
And getting rid of excuses. Because if you look at your life and your career, you really had major challenges to overcome, because when, it's great to have your mind in it, but you were starting out in a very physical profession that could take a toll on your life. And you didn't just wrestle, you commanded the sport. How did you keep your body so strong?
Well, that was a fascinating part, because it is obviously a huge detriment starting at 35 and a half years old on the physical side, because your body's, that's not the years you start something like a professional wrestling career. But the positive side was that I believe the mind is the strongest thing that we have. The positive side is I was much smarter at 35 starting out professional wrestling. If I had started and kept going at 22, 23 years old, I might have done a lot more crazier things because I could. And when you can do that, you don't have any experience in life. Like, man, maybe that's not a good idea. You haven't really paid attention to life in your early 20s yet. Very few people have. And understandable. That's why when you get these young athletes, whether they're professional wrestlers or basketball players or football players, millions of dollars at 20 years old, how do they know how to, end up with something at the end?
Right.
Because it just becomes a free-for-all. But again, when you start at 35, you're just a little bit smarter. And, I always tell people it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to fall down. Just what did you learn from that? And if you don't learn anything and you keep making the same mistake over and over again, well, that's Einstein's, definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result.
Dallas, what did those years of abuse do to your body? I can remember sitting in the stands cringing, watching you guys slam the mat. What happened to your body after years and years of that abuse?
Well, I've had 2 shoulder surgeries, rotator cuff tears. I've torn in both these I've torn my meniscus, and my one I turned my ACL and my broke piece of my kneecap off. I've ruptured my L4 and L5 so badly that they said my wrestling career was over at one point. That's where DDP yoga comes from. And then my neck is fused not by the doctor but by the wear and tear. 2 cervicals in my neck. So it would sound like I'm super beat up, and I am, but one of the things that happened when I first started, again, being 35 and a half years old, and I stress that and a half years old because that's 6 months older in a game that, is made for kids. But I'm the first guy to ice his body in professional wrestling. I'm the first guy to do weekly deep muscle massage therapy, sometimes twice a week, chiropractic, applied kinesiology. I'm the first person to even understand what organic meant, meaning like, people are organic this or organic that, or what our great-grandparents used to call food, because everything was organic.
Right.
Like put the real, not just eating lean, but that's where it came from, eating better choices. But then I started to educate myself with, different documentaries as well. So I am going to be 63 years young, April 5th, and I can do more than most 20-year-olds. Now, I can't get in the ring and wrestle. I could get in the ring and wrestle like I did, but the recovery time would be brutal. So it's not worth it to me anymore. My goal is to feel good every day. And just to give the cliff notes, at 35, my career took, I started my career. At 36, I tore my rotator cuff and they let me go. I came back a year later and got a contract, but it was at the bottom end. And nobody really believed in me. They loved my work ethic, and they loved to use me as an example. So, I wasn't working all the time. So if you don't work all the time, if you don't wrestle all the time, you won't get any better. It's really like anything. Repetition is the mother of learning. So I went down to a place where I first learned how to wrestle called the Power Plant, and I started training all these young kids. And what I learned again was the more you teach someone, the more you personally will learn. The more you learn, the better you get. So every time that I got that once in a while TV match, I was going to be different. I was going to be better. And you never know who's watching. I talk about it all the time. And for me, it was Hulk Hogan, who's watching me get better and better and better. And I explained to him that I've been teaching the young guys. And, the more you teach, the more you learn. The more you learn, the better you get. And he's like, whatever you're doing, you need to keep doing it. Now, this is in 1994. He says to me, he goes, it's not this year or next year. He goes, but somewhere down the line, if you keep doing what you're doing, you and I could draw huge money together. 4 years later from that day, I would be, Hulk was on The Tonight Show with Dennis Rodman. I came through the wings, meaning backstage area, with Karl Malone, who is the number 2 leading scorer of all time. We came in, we threw down chairs, and we literally shot our angle, not on a wrestling show, we shot it on the world stage, The Tonight Show. Me and Malone against Rodman and Hogan. It was the second biggest pay-per-view in the history of our company.
And listening to you, Dallas, you are proving on every level, emotionally, mentally, physically, that anything is possible when we want it badly enough and we're willing to work for it.
And that's the deal. And as I talk through Positively Unstoppable, if you're not willing to put the work in, put the book down and let the book work for you somewhere else, level up one of your tables, or something. Because if you're not willing to put the work in, it's not going to happen. And that's literally 101 common sense. But most people, they just don't have the drive or the ambition. So I think that's another thing I try to explain throughout Positively Unstoppable. Giving examples. If you knew your success was a certainty, what would you do if you knew you couldn't fail?
Dallas, I agree with you. For me, excuses are like nails on a blackboard. They drive me crazy. And I love the saying, if you want it badly enough, you'll find a way. Otherwise, you'll find an excuse. Can you share with us one of these stories that you've been mentioning, an example of someone you've worked with who has transformed his or her life?
Well, the best one, God, there's been so many, but the best one would be disabled veteran Arthur Borman. So what happened was back when the first thing I did for my program is I wrote a book called Yoga for Regular Guys. And it was a little tongue-in-cheek. It was kind of funny, but the workout part was serious. And being published gave us a different level of credibility. Then we did DVD series, but anyone who got my program, I would send them an email saying, thank you so much for investing in this and believing in me. I'm not trying to sell you anything. I just have 5 questions. And Arthur's answers were remarkable. He really took the time. So I emailed him back. I said, look, sounds like you need some help, bro. Tell me a little bit about yourself. He said, I'm a disabled veteran, morbidly obese, and I've relegated to thinking of myself as a piece of furniture. Mm-hmm. I'm like, wow. Send me some pictures. And that's where he sent me those pictures, where you could see him standing on his knee braces. I didn't know it took 20 minutes to put the braces on and the back brace. His wife had to do it for him every single morning. Another military person, Vicky, and then hand him his canes, and then he'd start his day 20 minutes after trying to get out of bed. He sent me those pictures with it wraparound canes, and I was like, how am I going to help him? So I've been working with this guy named Dr. Fred Bishy. He's right up there in Long Island. He's like the raw guru. He's helped so many people beat cancer with food. And he gave me an eating plan that I sort of modified for myself. And I knew that this was all around health as well, this eating plan. So I sent it to Arthur. If Arthur would have wrote me back, I think I could do it, or I'll give it a try, I would have said, awesome, keep me posted. But he didn't say that. He said 4 powerful words. I can do this. I said, send me your phone number. Mm-hmm. Now, that's the first person, Joan, that I ever talked to that I did not know. You know, it was someone I met on the internet. We talked for an hour. 2 weeks later, he called me back. He didn't want to bother me, but he was so excited. He'd lost 20 pounds. He lost 4 inches off his stomach. The stomach part was the bloating. You know, when your body doesn't want you to take in wheat or dairy, well, you're going to bloat up. So that's why he lost 4 inches. But he did lose 20 pounds, and he wanted to know how to keep going. His only goal was the original goal. He's 5'6", 297 pounds. His only goal is to lose 50 pounds so he can get his knees operated on. Because the VA would not do it till he got under a certain weight. So what happened was he lost 32 pounds the first month. He lost 22 pounds the second month. He lost 18 pounds the third month. That's 72 pounds in 3 months. In 6 months, he'd lose 140 pounds. He not only would lose the weight, he would lose the knee braces, the back brace, and the wraparound canes, and not just walk, but run.
It's amazing.
We have this all documented. And day one, when Arthur and I talked, I explained to him, as important as the DDPY workouts are, as important as the eating plan is, notice I didn't use the word diet. Diet. The first 3 letters of the word diet. Mm-hmm. Die. They don't work. Right. Lifestyles work. Eating plans work. Something you can grow with and subtract and add. As important as those 2 things are, they're 10% of the equation. The 90% is between your ears. It's that 6-inch piece of real estate that is the most valuable real estate you have. And getting him to understand that, you know, the art of owning it. It is that inner voice. It is that story you tell yourself. The workouts, the food, all that is so secondary. It's the mindset is the 90%. And how you reboot your brain to start to own that inner voice, to start to own that story you tell yourself. Arthur made the transformation before he even started, and then he kept working towards it. And then as he started to really see it happen, he started to believe it, which gave him confidence. That's what Positively Unstoppable is all about. And that has happened over and over. Recently, something had just happened November 19th. The video came out December 26th. the story of Vance Hines. I started working with a guy. I saw this guy on Twitter, and he put a video camera out on him doing a selfie saying, I'm 470 plus pounds. It's time for me to start, basically to own it. It's time to start to grab a hold of my own life. And when I saw that he had the guts to do that, I wrote him on Twitter, Vance, you're already down. He was already down at that point, like 16 pounds or something. I said, looks like you're really putting the work in. If you want some help, just hit me up, DM me. And he ended up following me and DMing me on Twitter. And he said, I had no idea who you were, but my Twitter tweet lit up like a Christmas tree of people saying, if you don't take DDP's help, you're crazy. And then he said something really important. He said, I used to say no to everyone's help. What I'm learning now is how to say yes. Yes, I will take your help. We got on the phone with each other. He flew up and saw me one day, flew back to Texas. He would come up again about 6 months in, and then he would come in again on his 1-year anniversary, where he got on the scale, and we had videoed everything, the entire journey. In 1 year, he lost 198 pounds.
It's fantastic.
Like, this is the difference, that making yourself accountable. This is the difference of rebooting your brain. This is the difference of owning it. What is the story that you're putting through your brain, like over and over and over again? The bad investment deal you made, or, hey, there's a lot of stuff you have to let go. And a lot of people can't do that. Why? Because they tell themselves, I can't do that. Like, you're right.
The book is Positively Unstoppable, The Art of Owning It by Diamond Dallas Page. If you would like to get more information about the book or Dallas and his work, you can visit ddpyoga.com. Dallas, thank you so much for joining us and for sharing your no-nonsense approach to living an empowered life. I agree with you. If you want to achieve what you desire, there can be no excuses. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me on the show, and I look forward to coming back on again.
This is Conversations with Joan. Stay with us. We'll be right back.